Hey guys, I'm back with another video. This time we're doing the 2022 governor's map prediction or gubernatorial map prediction. So let's get right into it with the safe states. Idaho, Wyoming. There was one poll in Nebraska that shows a likely race, highly doubt it. Arkansas, Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, Ohio, and Iowa, very popular incumbents in both of these states. I don't see them losing. In South Dakota, there was one poll that showed it within like a lean margin, but there's only been one poll of that, and I think it's probably still going to be a safe race. I don't think the conditions exist for Democrats to make this race competitive. Alaska, I really don't think it's going to be that competitive. I think Republicans are going to win here by a decent margin. Hawaii, California, Illinois, even though some polls show it as a likely race. Well, the Republican here is literally a racist, so it's not going to happen. It's going to be a Democratic victory of over 10%. Massachusetts and Maryland, these are Democratic flips for them. Plus, they're just running very Trumpy candidates in both these states, the Republicans and the moderates, so they're not winning these states at all. In Connecticut, he's a very popular incumbent here, the incumbent governor. And plus, most polls he leads by over 10% anyway, so I do think the Democrat's going to pull off a victory here. In Vermont, New Hampshire, these are just safe Republican states, very popular liberal Republicans in both of these states. Now, let's get right in with the prediction. So the first state is Oklahoma, and I do think it's probably going to be a high single digits victory for Kevin Stitt here. He really pissed off a lot of groups in Oklahoma, which is why it's showing a very competitive race in the polling. But Sooner polls, again, they underestimate Republicans by quite a lot. So Sooner polls shows the Democrat up here with the likely lead. That's just not true. They say Trump's only leading Biden here by 12 points, and Trump won the state pretty much by 30. So I think if we reverse the poll here and add 10% of the Republican, it would basically be a likely race. So I think Stitt win here in the high single digits. In Texas, some polls shows it a safe Republican race, some show it as a lean Republican race. The best way to categorize this state is likely Republican. Abbott's probably still going to win here by 7 to 8% against Beto O'Rourke. However, Beto O'Rourke's known for outperforming expectations, which is why I'm putting it into the likely Republican column. In Colorado, the Republican candidate here is kind of a joke, so it's a safe Democratic state, plus he's leading by over 10% anyway. In Florida, with the early voting, it's showing very encouraging signs for Republicans, plus DeSantis is, in some polls, leading by over 10%, so I do think he's going to pretty much do amazing in Florida, win it by a landslide over 10% margin, outperforming Rubio even, which is pretty surprising. In Georgia, Brian Kemp's going to win here by a likely margin. Stacey Abrams kind of shot herself in the foot in 2018 with refusing to concede. And just the fact that she kept trying to be Biden's vice president might hurt her in this state. They just might view her as using Georgia as just a stepping stool into national politics. Plus, Brian Kemp did stand up to Trump over the 2020 election controversy. So I think Brian Kemp's going to appeal very well to independents here and win the state by about 8 to 9%. In Rhode Island, I consider this a likely Democratic race. The governor here, or the Democratic candidate here, hasn't led by over 50% in a poll yet, except in like months ago, but that doesn't really count because it's months ago. In New York, Zeldin, before I said people would be crazy to put this as a likely race, but now you're going to have to put this as a likely race. A lot of reputable pollsters have shown this race into the likely column for Democrats. Zeldin's outperforming expectations here. And a thing that's going to make me kind of pissed off is the New York Supreme Court pretty much ruled that New York's going to have to count its ballots as slow as possible again. It's just going to be, we're not going to know the result in New York's governor race probably for a while, and it might even show Lee Zeldin leading on election night because they count election day vote first and then mail-in ballots. So that's going to be very annoying. We're not going to know the results of several important House races just because of that dumb ruling by the court here in New York. just making the whole accounting process so much slower. So if you see Zeldin with a lead here, it's probably going to evaporate by the next couple days after Election Day. In Maine, I don't see why people are putting this as a lean Democratic race. The Democratic candidate is frequently led by 10 to 11 points in the polling, and they'll be putting as a likely race. I think they'll probably win by 8 to 9%, I guess. I don't think it's going to be a lean Democratic race. I don't see how it will be. And also, the Republican candidate here, Paul LePage, is running again. He used to be governor here. I think he's a weak candidate, honestly. He was pretty Trumpy when he was in office in the governor's race, or no, in the governor's mansion in Maine. He was just always very radical. He wasn't really a moderate, and you got to be a moderate to win in Maine. So, in Pennsylvania, Mastriano's still going to lose. He's going to lose by probably 7 to 8% against Josh Shapiro. He's just shot himself so much in the foot in this campaign. Mastriano really has no shot. I don't think this is going to be a competitive race. In Minnesota, Scott Jensen in some polls is even leading by a tilt Republican margin. However, Trafalgar missed the mark by a lot in the state of Minnesota in 2020. They underestimated Democratic support by 5%, so I think Walz is still going to win here by a likely margin against his Republican opponent. In Wisconsin, I think it's going to be a narrow Republican flip. It's like a very even race in terms of the polling here, and it's an incumbent Democrat, so Democrats will have a bit of an advantage here. They'll definitely do better in the governor's race than the Senate race, that's for sure. In Michigan, Tudor Dixon did make this race from a likely race to a lean Democratic one. I still think Whitmer will win by 4.5% against Tudor Dixon. Like, on average, Whitmer leads by 6%, and RCP says it's going to be a GOP flip. I just don't see it. Tudor Dixon's still a pretty terrible candidate, so I still think Whitmer's going to win here by 4.5%, even though RCP disagrees with me. I mean, Real Cooler Politics in general tends to have a Republican lean, so this is just how I see it. In New Mexico, this is a likely Democratic race. It could go to lean, but I think the Democratic governor here is going to win by a likely margin. In Nevada, Lombardo has constantly shown a lead here, and I do think Lombardo is going to be heading for an election victory in the state of Nevada. In Arizona, it's a lot more of a closer race here, and polls have shown the Republican up by 1 and then the Democrat up by 1. So I'm going to say it's a tilt Republican race. Kari Lake barely beats Hobbs here for the Arizona governor's race. If only Democrats or Katie Hobbs decided to debate Kari Lake, we could have seen this race be a lot more competitive. And maybe even with a tilt Democratic lean. But for now, I'm putting it as tilt Republican. In Kansas, because there is a third-party candidate running here, independent and center-right person, this race is probably tilt Democratic. Democrats really lucked out that the Republican vote is being split in the state of Kansas. In Oregon, most polls show it within a 1% lead for the Republican. However, I do think some voters are slowly waking up to the fact that Betsy Johnson can't win, and they don't want a Republican in the governor mansion in Oregon, and decide on future stuff going on in Oregon. So I do think the Democrats are going to narrowly still hold this seat, because I do think voters are going to say, well, the independent candidate's going to win, not going to win anymore, so I may as well vote for the Democrat to prevent a Republican from winning. But it could go either way. So Oregon, Kansas, Wisconsin, Arizona, these are the true toss-up states in the 2022 governor's election, or elections. They could go either way, but this is just how I see the map so far. So 28 Republicans and 22 Democrats. That's my election prediction. Let me know what you think of this in the comments below. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.